Hey everybody. Technically it's Easter time around here, and it doesn't seem like it because it's Rochester, but with our Zoom bunny Pat,
Hello.
delivering eggs on Sunday, of
Yep.
course, as always. And you know what? It's spring though, so with spring, I think of summer. But before that, we were joined by Dell, looking very fancy with that hat.
Thank you. I just
Hey,
got
Del.
some sort of chat line that came up. Let's get rid of that or what?
I don't know if you
How do
hear
you
any
get rid
weird
of that?
noises in the background.
Are you
blame
expecting
him.
anyone else?
Oh yeah, Paul.
Okay.
Is there anyone else? Oh,
Well,
it's Paul.
Hey,
There's
okay,
Paul.
the walrus is Paul.
Oh,
So this is going chaotically, but we just started. It's great to see you, Paul. Hey, Chaz, in your car.
Hello.
But we're very thrilled for this episode. Okay, spring goes into summer eventually here for 2 weeks. And what do you think of summer surf music? It's always awesome. It's great all time of the year, but we're going to give you a summer vibe today for this fun spring weather. We're thrilled to welcome Susan SurfTone. Hi, Susan.
Hello. Hi, it's good to be here.
How did this surf music,
hey.
how did this all start for you? When did you get the bug for it?
I got the bug for it. Well, I started taking guitar lessons right after the Beatles came over in 64. And I was like 9 years old. And I hadn't heard of surf music, and but I wanted to be a lead guitar player. So my teacher Joe Scaracchi back in Hudson, New York, he kind of realized that I was good, even though I was this little girl, and he knew I could play. And he got out this Ventures book. And I had never heard of the Ventures before. What's this? Okay. And we played Walk, Don't Run. And we would do this thing where he'd teach me the lead and he'd play rhythm, and then we'd switch around and I'd play rhythm and he'd play lead. So I'd learn how to play rhythm guitar. And I just really liked it because it was the lead guitar, it was up front, it was melodic, and that was it. And then I started playing, along with all the Beatles stuff that would play, I started playing Venture songs.
I
And then I
remember like meeting
Yes,
Dick
what's the
Dale.
copy?
Go
Yeah.
on, Dale. Yeah, dude. I remember meeting Dick Dale and almost getting beaten up, I thought, because Dick, he was 2 hours late for the meeting. I was second in line at the House of Guitars. So he starts talking to me and he won't stop. I start asking him about, okay, at the bug jar here, it was Link Ray, Scotty Moore, and him. And he just says, well, I fell into this because I'm left-handed. He's going on. By the end of the conversation, he was inviting me to his house at Big Sur. And this
That's
is
cool.
people 2 hours waiting behind me. The looks of death I was getting from the people behind me was like, I'm really going to watch out
Yeah.
but he's a talker once you get him going.
Yeah, there's one time I met him. I waited till everybody left, and then I went up and said hello.
And then 2 days later, you were free.
Well, that's the thing about Rob. Rob's always getting past the velvet rope and get with stars and getting dirty looks. We don't know how he does it, but that's what happens with Rob. So we bow to you, Rob.
But yes, that's the thing. I think surf music, it just hooks you like that, doesn't it? For you guys. Now, you guys, how did you first, everybody, if you want to, how did you discover it? All of you. The first time you really heard
You're
it.
asking everybody?
Yeah, anybody wants to jump in.
My dad used to play Ventures albums when I was a kid. He used to put on this big Motorola stereo and play Ventures, and I totally dug the songs. They were great. And luckily my mom got into like Bill Haley. So that's where I got some of the rockabilly influence. And just songwriting in particular, all throughout the 60s and 70s, from different songwriters.
Now, I know Chaz has played surf music, haven't you?
Yeah. So my first band, when I was just like Susan saying, I wrote, surf sounded to me fun and sexy and easy to get into. So I was in Cousin Al with Brian Goodman, Susan.
Oh yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian opened me up to a lot of punk and good trashy stuff.
hmm
I still have a
Fun
45
guy.
of surfing on the Barge Canal in my basement.
Exactly.
Yeah, see. Well, you'll be thrilled. Paul will be thrilled to know, because his wife's English, that Susan's done a lot of Beatles stuff.
Yeah, we don't say Beatles around here, Rob. You know that.
It's like
Oh.
that's our in joke. He's the one person, his wife is English. She doesn't like the Beatles at all.
Oh yeah.
It's like somebody not liking Star Wars or something.
Well, it's like being a Wookiee and not liking Star Wars. That's right.
Yeah.
No, so Susan, you start off, and what were some of your first terms of gigs and recordings and everything?
Oh, I didn't play. I played a little bit in college, just kind of with the acoustic guitar. I didn't play in a band until I was in New York City when I was working for the FBI. And I started I got a singer and worked with some singers, and people came and went.
Was that the band, the Change? You were called the Change, I think.
That came later. This is like the 80s. This is like, oh God, this would be 82 probably that I started actually with a band in New York City. Because when I was working for the Bureau, I was walking by CBGBs all the time, and I was looking at all these clubs and saying, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Because I was getting older. I mean, I was 28, and I was like, oh, I'm getting old. And it was, if I don't do this, I'm never going to do it. So I made the decision to do it. Bureau didn't like it. I remember walking into the ASAC, the assistant super agent in charge, and walking in and saying I wanted to play in a band. And he said, where are you going to play? And I said, well, CBGBs and, Gildersleeves. And oh no. Well, I'll have to ask. So he asked. I don't know who he asked. And then I got told, no, you can't do that because we feel you'd be compromising yourself. So I said, well, here I have to choose. So I chose to start the band, and I left the Bureau, and I didn't really regret leaving. It was kind of like I knew I really wasn't going to make it a career. There were a lot of factors that were kind of working against me at that time. So I figured this isn't going to be a career. I enjoyed some of the work, but I'd rather play guitar. So,
I'm assuming you had probably a secret clearance and stuff like that, right? Oh
yeah. And I shouldn't have at the time, because we all know my background. We know I'm gay, and you weren't supposed to be LGBTQ back then. You could get fired. So I knew it wasn't going to turn into a career for me, because I wasn't going to be able to live like that all my life. So I knew I'd be leaving sometime, and like I said, the clock was ticking as far as playing music, so I figured that was the time to do it. And I did it. And I started bands with vocalists, and people would always say to me, well, your leads sound like surf leads. So that was kind of a clue. Don't forget, I was an FBI agent, so I picked up on clues. And it was like, well, this is a clue. Everybody's telling me they're hearing surf.
Here.
They're hearing surf in my lead. So, okay, that's fine with me. That's good. And it just kind of evolved that way, that I kept thinking to myself, singers would come and go. That's what happened with the Change, Del. You're working with a singer, and then it doesn't work out, and the singer leaves. And if you're not the singer, a good bit of the whole sound goes, and you're starting over again. So when I was in Rochester.
One thing I was going to say, I'm very, very proud of the first copyrighted song I wrote with you called Step Away.
That's right. I remember that one. I remember that one. I remember Butchie, the German Shepherd, sitting on the floor watching us sing, watching us play. I didn't know if we were going to get bit or if it was a good thing. But,
that's perfect. All you have to do is have a German Shepherd. You know how to do music then, because if it doesn't bite you, you did a good song.
That's right. We didn't get bit, so...
So the only scandal I could think of from the FBI would be if you went to CBGB's and somehow you ate Hilly's chili and you didn't get sick. They would have gone
that would
something.
Kill you. Yeah.
I asked Amy Rigby that. She said no. I didn't even try it. Did you ever try it?
No, we played there a few times, and no, the chili was definitely not a thing.
No, I've yet to find one person.
Was really
when you went in there and when you played in there, when you actually played in there, the bathrooms were so horrible. Everybody used to go up to that place called Phoebe's up on the corner and get like a coffee to go so you could use their bathroom, because the bathrooms were really at CB's. They're legendary.
There's something about music halls like that, because I remember I used to tell friends at the Bug Jar, if I have to go to the bathroom, show's over, I'm just going home. I'm not going in this freaking thing.
The bathrooms in Europe were priceless too. I mean, really.
Now that
I'm jealous of her living in New York. This was what, the early 80s or something?
Yeah, this had to be probably 83.
So that's a real petri dish of rockers there. So you probably ran into some notable people that also had like label deals and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. We used to. Well, we actually opened for the Shirts at Gildersleeves. That was fun. And then you'd run into people. Like one time I was in CB's, and then there was like Clem Burke was standing right there, in the polka dot shirt. Yeah, I talked to Debbie Harry on the phone once. That was fun, because I worked in a recording studio that I called MR Studios over on West 30th Street. And it was owned, kind of a secret partner in it was Roger Mayer, the guy that did all the effects for Hendrix and Pete Townsend and all the English
Oh my
guys.
gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
great.
he'd come, Mayer would come in, and he had a private room where he did all his gizmos back there. And I was let in one time, and that was like a big deal. One time, the owner of the studio, a guy named Alan Carrier, brought Roger Mayer to our gig. And he came in and he looked at the setup of the amps and, oh, this is all wrong. So he did our amps for us. That was really cool. We had him he did the amps. We sounded great. Then another time I was at a party at his place and he kept shoving these albums that Keith Richards gave him in my hands. Keith gave me this one and Keith gave me this one, but he was kind of nuts, but he really knew what he was doing. I'll tell you. I think he's still around. I think he's still alive, actually. But
I like the one quote from Keith Richards where he was criticized for not knowing Nirvana. He says, "Yeah, I've never heard of them, but I've been to Nirvana a whole bunch of times."
Yeah.
It's just the cool factor, though, just saying, you know where I got this album? Keith Richards got this for me.
Well, Roger Mayer was really excited about it, so it was a big deal.
But that's really cool and everything. But this is one thing. This is like one of those dumb questions from like I'm not as much as a pro in music like a couple of these guys. Sometimes for instrumentals, is it hard to come up with a title for them?
Yes, it's really hard to come up with the title. And sometimes you come up with a title, and then after the song is out, and you're looking at it on Spotify, and you're looking, and you say, "Why did I name it that stupid thing?" Because whatever was going on in your head is long gone, and it's like. So, I look at a lot of my titles for the originals and say, why did I do that?
So I wondered, I know I saw the one Spaghetti something I was just listening to.
Oh, that was our bass player, Buck Malin, wrote that one. There's a few songs that other people wrote. Buck passed away. He's gone, but he wrote Spaghetti Beach, and he wanted to title it Spaghetti Beach. And I say, you sure? Yeah, that was it. So it's his song, and we titled it Spaghetti Beach.
That's what I wondered, and you guys could speak on it, Chaz especially, too, that when you're writing, is it pure, do you just get the riff and everything, or do like some words come in your head, or like a feeling?
Well, I'll usually sit with either the guitar, the sixth string, or the bass. Some of the songs have been written from the bass line, and just start playing. And you just hit on something, and if something sounds good, you keep playing it again and again. It's usually a chord pattern, the riff, or a bass pattern. And then my label partner, Avery Gray, who's in the back room here, she plays keyboards sometimes on the newer stuff. I'll say to her, have you heard this before? Does this sound like anything is the big deal. Does this sound like anything? And then if she says yes, well, then we throw that one away. And if she says no, then I keep working with it. And if it's something that I remember and come back to, and, like I really like this one, then it'll usually turn into a song. But I can start them all these different ways.
I do know because I saw Deke Dickerson on tour with those Straitjackets, and they did an album. I guess some of these older instrumentals, like Perfidia, some of these, they actually started out with lyrics.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Perfidia was a big, that's
like a ska song almost. It has that vibe.
It was written in the 30s. I mean, I've covered that one, and the original version is it's slower. It's music from the 30s, and the Ventures did their version, and that's how it worked into the surf canon that they brought it in. And it's a great song. It's fun to play, and it's melodic.
They actually did it before the Shantays did it, or Shantays.
Oh, a lot of people have done it.
Yeah, that's what I love about this genre, though, because you can just pick something like Los Straitjackets did the theme from Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they did the love theme from Titanic, too.
There have been schools of thought, just like, the question of is the Beach Boys surf music or not? No. And there's also, like, can any song become a surf song? And some people say no, and some people say yes. I'm in the yes camp.
I love the challenge like that. I love like some different covers. Like the Super Suckers did a cover of Sail On from the Commodores, and they turned it into a really cool country song.
Well, it's fun to take songs that you would never think. Like I just recently, one of my other single that was kind of the companion with Hawaii 5-0 is a version of Those Magic Changes from Greece, and they do it it's always been done as kind of a slow doo-woppy thing. In my version, I 60'd it up, and it's nowhere near what they did. That's really fun when you take a song and just rework the whole thing.
I think Hawaii 5-0 really is like my all-time favorite. That's like the ultimate surf instrumental. I don't even who wrote it. Like it sounds like Henry Mancini or somebody, but
it's Morton
it's a masterpiece.
I don't remember the guy's name right off, but it was written for the TV show.
It's
So
amazing.
it's got a
Morton
real
Stevens.
Yeah, I think so. And it's got a real TV theme to it. And I hadn't done it. I mean, all the years I've been playing, I never covered it. And the drummer that I'm working with now, Nick Vincent, he worked in TV. He's worked in TV a lot. And oh, by the way, he used to drum for Anne Margaret. So that's in his plus.
Wow.
But he's done a lot of TV work. So I figured, okay, now's the time to do Hawaii 5-0 because the drummer has got the perfect feel for it. And so I said to him, you want to do it? And he said, yeah. So I recorded everything else like I do now. I did all the guitars and the bass, sent it to him, and then he did his thing, and he did a really, really great job with it.
That's a good question about the Beach Boys if they're surf, because I'm trying to think how I actually got into surf music, and I think that got me into it a little, because my friend David Acosta and I, we used to have our surfer cool period where we were dressed up with the Ray-Bans and the shorts and stuff and listened to and he was a huge Brian Wilson fan. And I mean, originally they were calling themselves the Pendletones after they were going in for the whole Southern California surf vibe and the whole songs.
It's named after the shirts.
Yeah. Because that was like the book The Nearest Faraway Place said that about there was that whole trying to push the culture there. And for the inland kids, they did car songs. So that got me into it. So I'll say there's surf music, I guess. I guess whatever works.
Yeah, there's the big debate about, is surf really just instro surf? Or can it have vocals on it? And then it's kind of splits along that line. So that's the debate.
Yeah. Paul, any thoughts on that? I forget you're there because you're a phone link. If he's there, even.
Nothing to add.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
No, I don't know. I've always seriously. I've always thought the Beach Boys were surf music. I didn't even know it was a debate until just now.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I mean, they have vocals. I mean, I think I wouldn't define surf as pure instrumental. Because I always say, whatever it is. If you listen to it, it's surf. Call it surf. It's like,
Well, isn't that like that with?
Well, the difference. I'm sorry. There's
No,
a
let
slight difference.
Pat enunciate on
He's
this.
the guitar. He's just a singer.
What were you going to say?
Mike Love doesn't take a part. He's just a singer.
I feel like every label that a style of music is called is never. I can't think of a time when it's ever coined by the actual artists. It's always like put on by by whoever is or selling the media or playing it on the radio or listening to it or curating it. Like punk, you get into a whole thing about what is and what isn't punk, and it'll bore your head right the hell off.
I think actually my best example of that one is the movie Hype. Because what it's about the grunge scene. It's the woman who was working at a magazine there. This stuff was going on. It was almost faded by the time Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all these bands came out. She came up with the whole thing for grunge, like what you wear and everything else after the fact.
Right.
I guess I would have to
coined
say,
the word.
I listened to the Beach Boys when I was a kid. And those
there you go.
solos were surf. Even if the song had vocals, the solos were surf.
Yeah.
So the early Beach Boys, I know when we got into, they got into the stuff with Good Vibrations and all that, I don't know. But the early stuff that I listened to, I mean, as a kid, when I was learning, I would have said, of course it's surf. But then it gets, as people get into the nuances of, this and that and the other thing.
Yeah, my view on music, it should be fun. It is what it is, what the
people
heck.
Fight over everything, that.
Yeah, these days it's like I think we could get into a fight over like strawberry or grape jam these days.
Of course you could.
Or pineapple on pizza. Pineapple on pizza.
Oh my God! People get so incensed about pineapple on pizza. It's like, don't eat it then. Who
I thought it
cares?
was jam versus jelly.
Well, stop talking about pineapple on pizza. This is going to get demonetized when it comes out. Okay, stop.
Jam versus jelly is actually a quantifiable thing. That is
or marmalade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. My dad
don't bring up pineapple on pizza. Rob, don't bring up pineapple with pizza or Beatles with Joe.
Well, sorry, but our guest here did a Beatles album, so we're going to talk about the Beatles. Susan, where'd you come to do the Beatles album? Why did you decide to do it? Because they're the Beatles? Because it's fun? Why?
Well, a combination of things. I always wanted to play bass. I really did. So I got a bass, and I said, "Well, how are you going to learn to play bass?" I didn't want to take lessons or anything. So it's like this was like around 2009. So I said, "Well, I'll do what I did with the guitar," and I took lessons. But I learned playing Beatles songs. So I got the book Paul McCartney, Beatles songs and stuff and everything. And I sat down with it and I started playing to their records with bass. And it's like, okay, this is fun. Then I'd hear the guitar part and I'd say, well, gee, I could do that. And I just kept building it. I just kept building them. So before you know it, I had a record. And I put that out and I just thought, I didn't think much of it, frankly. And people bought it.
I was going to say, your style is great because you capture the technical end of it, but you still give it the same energy that it deserves or the same emotion. That's a real challenge, especially with Beatles or Beach Boys.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks. What I did was there's umpteenth, transcriptions of their songs and everything, and I made sure that I played all their vocal parts too to make it sound like them, because without
that's what the
all of it doesn't sound like
all the vocal parts.
Yeah.
Add it to the instrumental. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen your process in paring down the songs for that album too, because there's just so much you can choose from.
Well, I did the ones I like, and I'm a big early Beatle fan. I usually like bands in their early phase. I don't know, it just tends to be a pattern. But I did the early ones that I liked, and then I said, well, I have to do some of the older ones too, the newer ones, the ones, post Revolver. And I picked the ones that I liked, and just some worked and some didn't. I think there were some I threw out and said, no, this didn't work. And some that did work, and some that worked better than others, and that's about how it went.
Well, that's I like from your body of work, and you have quite the big body of work, the copious body, whatever. I have to use a big word just so I have show that I'm the host and I have a brain. But you seem like you do a lot of originals and covers now. I always think doing original music, there's a special thing in there. I mean, covers are great, obviously, but when you do something and you get something that comes out well, it's there's wow, I did that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do the originals, but it's a whole different skill set in doing the covers, because you got to hear the song that somebody else did. You have to arrange it the way you can play it. Doing the covers really does enhance your arrangement skills. And it's you have to arrange it in a way that is, people are going to listen to it and know the song, but you put something different in it. You did something that made it not, yours, or something that brought out a different aspect of it. And that's always fun to do. I really like doing that.
Exactly.
I like doing both of them.
I think that's the difference between doing covers and being a tribute band too.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Where if you're a tribute band, people just expect to hear it regurgitated. Where if you're doing covers, they want your spin on it.
Exactly. That's what people go see a tribute band. They want to see, if it's a Bowie tribute band, they want to see Bowie.
Yeah, my friend Rob Mount, he played for Foreigner, and he was saying when they did for Lou Gramm. And he said when they were doing those, you were expected to repeat the Foreigner drummer's drum beat. They didn't want you doing anything special, anything different. They wanted to hear as he did it.
Right, exactly.
Or say a friend's band did it.
That's a whole nother talent, to be able to do somebody else's style perfectly. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
No, I wish we had our, I wonder in terms, I wish we had our drummer Greg on. He's going through some issues at the moment, health issues, and we wish him the best. But I wondered to ask him, I'd love to ask him about how, in terms of surf drumming, how the technique is and everything compared to other drumming, because I have no idea myself.
Heavy backbeat on that snare.
There you go.
Heavy backbeat.
Yeah.
Because I know,
how long did you...
Go on, Vandell.
I'm sorry. How long did you work with Judd Williams when he was around?
Not that long. Judd's on the first record. He's on the second record. He's on Thunder Beach.
Second record. And he's the legend of Boston, because he used to live with Amy Mann and one of the guys from the Cars. Yeah. He's still kind of out there.
He's on Thunder Beach, and that record did well. That's considered one of the Susan and the SurfTone records. That's considered one of the best. He did a good job on that, and he did.
Yeah, I know that it was. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know that him and also Tom Riccio used to play with you too.
Who?
Tom Riccio. Bass
player. Yeah. That was early. Yeah, that was really early. But yeah, Judd went to Germany the first time too when we did the big show in Hamburg.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a question we always ask on this show. So you're moving along, you're playing, you're having fun. Then all of a sudden COVID hits.
Oh, yeah.
And as an artist, how did you react to this?
Oh, COVID's responsible for all the stuff I've been doing lately. I was in LA and I didn't have a car down in LA. I used public transit. So once COVID hit, that was over. And I've got a chronic pain condition actually that I've played with through the years that it makes me it could be an autoimmune thing. So I was really worried about COVID. So I'm in the apartment. I had nothing to do. And I got the guitar, I got the bass. So I said I could record on the computer and everything. So I said, well, I'm try Baja because I never liked the recordings of Baja that I did. I never liked them. So I said, well, I'm going to try and do a version of Baja. And I had a bass line that I wanted to do. It's different than the bass line than I've ever heard anybody do on Baja. So I said, I'm going to do this. So I did it. And I worked with a guy in Nashville. He did some of the production work on it. Went back and forth online. And Baja, people liked it. I mean, Bill started playing it on Sirius and people picked up on it. And my God, it was a big deal. And it's like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to have a hit, boy. And,
that's cool.
And then I just kept doing it because, I frankly had nothing to do. And I'd get up in the morning and say, I'll do another song. And I was working with Nick Vincent and then another guy who I don't think you've even heard this guy's stuff yet, a guy named Kyle. You've never heard his stuff. I haven't released it yet. And I just kept doing it.
Can you repeat that name? Because you got cut out on that name.
Oh, Nick Vincent's the drummer. This recent stuff that's been played, That's Nick Vincent. He's the guy that was Ann Margaret's drummer. And he did the TV stuff, and he's on Hawaii Five-0. But there's another guy named Kyle who you haven't even heard yet. I haven't released the stuff that I've done with him because I was doing so much. It was because I do it all myself. And I play the lead, I play the rhythm, I play the bass. My label mate Avery was doing keys when they were necessary. And it was all done, like people do things now. You never see each other in person. And
sounds a lot like Squires of the Subterranean. They're pretty much a one-man job too.
And I just kept going. As long as the pandemic, couldn't go out, I couldn't do anything, so I just kept going. And I was writing originals and doing covers and going back and looking at some of the stuff I had recorded before, 20 years ago. And, I don't want to play bass on that one, so I do them again. And that's how I kept going. I have 2 CDs that I haven't released yet. I don't know when I'm going to release them. I mean, I have 2 CDs with new originals on them and new all kinds of stuff on them, and they'll get out sometime, but yeah, I mean, I can't release them all at once. Mike Murray would kill me.
It really seems like for musicians particularly that COVID was kind of a weird, like a period of creativity and all you could do was just make new music. You just weren't able to perform it anywhere out. But, so much of your time is spent doing that there's so much, it seems to be just a unending amount of material that people have made simply because they couldn't leave the house. And, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. I got sick of watching the news and it was like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I would be like,
Susan?
Come on.
Yeah.
I was wondering, since you did Hawaii Five-0, is there anything open for doing soundtracks to movies or anything like that? Do you have any plans to do that?
That stuff has kind of come and gone. It's hard to get into. It being, in time when I'm in LA, I think about it because if you're going to do it, that's the place to be because that's where all the connections are. I've had some of my stuff used. I had 2 of the songs, Blue Hammer and Tiki Kiki, were used on The Real World back in season 19 on the one in Sydney, Australia. It was used in I think episode 2 and episode 9, and that was the money you got was
remember
really
the scene that it was used in? Was it used to like for a certain scene, or was it like an introduction to something, or what?
It was used in the scene. Tiki Kiki, they were on the beach down in Australia, and they played it in the background while they were on the beach. And then Blue Hammer, they played during one of the guys' interviews. In that season, there was a guy that wore a cowboy hat, and he was kind of cowboyish. They played it during one of his interviews. And then I recorded for an Italian label, Omo Music, and one of the originals I wrote and a couple covers got used in a Nissan video for their trucks, a promotional video that was like 20 minutes long. So I've had some stuff used. It's nothing I've ever really pursued because it's so hard to get into. It really is.
Yeah, I'll admit,
a lot of competition.
Yeah, I don't know, like if surf music's good for auto ads though, because for me it would make me speed.
These were all a bunch of Italian boys running around in trucks.
Oh, okay.
They sent me a copy of it, and I got to see it.
Did you ever get those songs though, where you're like, "Oh no, I'm going like 80 now while I'm listening to the song"?
They look like they were going pretty fast, actually.
Yeah. Hey, Susan, this is
He's back. He's back. He got kidnapped or something.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a bunch multitasking here. Don't ask. I don't want to give away, get in trouble with a boss or anything. So anyway, Susan, you've done tons of stuff. You got tons of material. When have you broken out of the genre? Have you done any like experimental stuff or weird stuff that is in the vaults or anything like that? Or
I've done stuff down in LA. I couldn't get anybody. Nobody would go see a band. The people that I had met some people in the Recording Academy crowd, and none of them would go see a band. So it was all they wanted, acoustic music. So eventually, the only way I could get them to actually come see me play was to do acoustic music. And that's when I started to sing, because I had to do something. So I did that. I put out a couple CDs doing that, and some of it's not bad. I mean, 2 of my best sellers were vocal songs, frankly. And I don't really like singing. So I did it for just a little while, and then when I had done enough, I had done enough. It wasn't something that I guess I have an okay voice on certain songs, but it's nothing that I like.
Sort of like the drummer of Velvet Underground. She sang probably a whole CD's worth of stuff. She's just mostly known for her drumming.
Yeah,
but she does sing, or she had to sing actually.
Yeah, I did it. I mean, I did a version of Blue Moon of Kentucky, Elvis's song, that. It did well. I mean, I was surprised. People actually bought it, and they didn't throw things at me. They actually bought it, so it was surprising. But I don't enjoy singing, so I did it. I won't do it again, and that's it. So, trying to think what else I've done that's different. Well, the acoustic guitar was different. I had gotten away from playing acoustic because it does annoy my pain condition, because I have to you got to put your elbow over the guitar more, and that really hurts. So,
what was the brand of guitar that you used?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Nine or something like that.
Ibanez. Ibanez. I think it's
those are nice.
Yeah, and
they sound great.
I think it is. I haven't played it in a long time because ever since the pandemic hit, I put it down and I've been playing the electric.
Now, here's a question from somebody who doesn't know anything about music like this. In terms of surf music, is basically the guitar of choice whatever you feel comfortable with, or are some better for it than others?
Well, it tends to be a Fender. The Strat, the Jaguar, Jazzmaster, they were surf guitars. It does tend to be a Fender, but most of the work that I've done in the pandemic is a Dan Electro, because that's what I had with me in LA. My Fender was in Portland. So the Fender was on Baja, but then most of the stuff, because I recorded the guitar part for Baja here in Portland, but most of the stuff is a Dan Electro, which is really unusual because you don't have the whammy bar. I don't have the whammy on the Dan Electro.
That's used by Who used Dan Electro?
Mm-hmm. Jimmy Page used it too a lot. He used it a lot. Yeah.
Hey, Susan, I saw on one of your YouTubes, I was doing a little homework. You got your hands on a Fender 12-string. Whose was that?
That belonged to the guy that did the engineer, co-producer on the record, Steve Kravac.
That's cool. That's probably worth some money there.
Yeah, I worked with Steve on actually a lot of records I did with Steve, and he did the drumming on them. This is the stuff I did, from 2011 till about 2016, everything that came out then. He used to be the engineer for Blink 121, what is it, 182?
182.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's his guitar. He had a really cool bass. God, he had a beautiful Fender bass that I used to really like playing. But yeah, he had some good stuff.
Yeah, we're all music nerds here, obviously, except our theater comic book nerd over here. But what's the, sometimes, like my friend Steve Litvak plays in a band called the Tombstone Hands, and I wouldn't call them surf, they're instrumental. I mean, they do some surf, other stuff, they just, Steve, it's like all over the place. How can you tell people, what's like, some people, like he says, some people just don't want to go to instrumental shows. Now, what should you say to them? Like, if anybody asks, like, they don't sing.
Well,
I've heard this, believe it or not.
I usually tell them it's like retro rock. Not everything sounds like surf, like you think it sounds like surf. You know what I mean? It's the song. What I always have to tell them is the songs don't all sound the same. They sound different. And then I'll say you'll like it because the songs sound different than each other. It's not the same song played for an hour. Okay. And then if they come,
I think it's the same problem that people that play reggae have. They think, they're all songs are all going to sound the same. Same beats and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And tell them, just come and see what it's like. You'll probably like it, and they usually do. I've had very few tell me, that I wasted their time.
Yeah, and they're short usually too, and it's something different, and the tempo goes up, down. I actually sold one friend on going to Link Ray with me because they said, "Hey, he did the Batman theme, right?"
Yeah, I mean that's how you have to do it. I had my teacher in New York. I took some guitar lessons when I was in New York City, and he always told me people will never appreciate what you do because they don't, they want like Batman. That's what they want. Okay, I don't care.
Well, Batman is cool. We'll be fair on that.
We played Batman. I think there's a video out there of us playing Batman. We played Batman.
See, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean,
do you prefer like the '60s stuff, or are you into the new stuff that's coming out?
I like.
60s kind of stay in that vein.
Yeah, I like the '60s stuff. I like the Ray beats a lot when they came out in the late '70s.
Oh, they're great. I love those.
Yeah,
guys.
I like that. I saw them once in a New Year's Eve show in New York City. They were great. And mostly the '60s stuff. Yeah, and Link Ray. I mean, Link Ray.
Yeah, I was thrilled he played.
One of the guys from Repeat is in Lost Straitjackets.
Yeah.
Danny, there's a another surf. I'm going to call her a chick. I don't know if I'm being incorrect, but that's what I'm calling her. Dee Dee Ray, and I don't know if she's related to Link Ray, but she's popping up in my Facebook feed, and she's another surfer. Sounds like Link Ray anyway. Have you heard of her?
Yeah, we've been Facebook friends for a long time, but I never talked to her, and I haven't listened to anything. I probably should, but I know her. Yeah,
it's pretty raw, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, that's good.
And from listening to your stuff, Susan, I also think as an artist, I think you go wherever your muse takes you. Where you start from where you started, I think something's in your head always saying, okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this. And that's what I like about so many musicians is you're always looking forward to what they do next because you don't know.
Yep, I'd say you're right. I try, it's hard because I've been doing it for so long. I try not to repeat myself too much, and I try to look for different approaches, new ways, and just to keep it going forward instead of just repeating myself over and over.
And I think that's the key.
I think that's why McCartney has lasted so long. He's always done something different all the time.
Yeah.
I think he just loves music and he loves to play, and it's all open. He's done classical. I always think for an artist, if you're not afraid to fail, there are no limits or anything. That's the thing.
Yeah, the trick is to know when it's bad. To be able to listen.
No, that's actually, it's even like doing a show like this or anything else. I think you have to be confident, not arrogant, but you also have to recognize your own shortcomings and realize, okay, this isn't the best, or this is not just be, everything I do is great.
Yeah, you do. You really do. You have to be your own filter, and it's easy easy to tell other people they're bad, but you have to be able to tell yourself you're bad. You know, it's like I listen to some of the things I've done and say it's not going to work. You know, there's stuff I have spent days on. I've spent a lot of time on, and just you get to a point where you go, no, it's just not as good as the last thing I did. And if it's not as good as the last thing I did, then why do I can't do it.
I mean, if you've ever had the situation, though, did you ever have somebody come up to you and say they love some song and you just, oh, great. Then, like, aside, you're thinking, I don't really like that one that much.
Not all the time. I listen. Everybody will go and check their sales on CD Baby, and you can see what people bought. And I'll be sitting there saying, that guy's got good taste. Oh, my God, why did they buy that one? Oh, God. There's one song that I think is the worst song that I ever wrote. It is the worst song I ever did. I hate it. It's called Question of the Night. Don't go listen to it. It's awful. And
so don't put it at the end of the sentence.
Yeah, this is not coming up on this show. We could beat it out if you don't want them.
That's the one that Getty took. That's the one that Getty took in their library. And it's like,
of course.
Why? I don't know. But every time I see somebody buying that, it's like, oh.
Hey,
just count the money. Count the royalties.
There is a bright side to that.
There's actually one actor said this. One actor was on about some movie, and they asked him about it afterwards. He goes, I don't care. I got the check.
Yeah.
It is a living too. Besides being art, you're making a living too. So
yeah, I would just like to ask them though, why? What did you hear in it that I didn't hear? Because
if we were all like multimillionaires, I think there was like one actor. Somebody would come up to him about some movie. He hated it so much. If they went to see it, he would actually give them their money back if he saw it.
Really?
Yeah, but that's like when you're a multi-millionaire.
That was George Clooney. I think that was George.
Was it Clooney or was it somebody? It was. Yeah, it wasn't for Batman and Robin.
Yeah, he's got as much mileage out of trashing his own movie.
By the way, Susan, I was wondering how come you moved from the Albany scene to the one in Oregon? Is there something that made you move, or what was the story behind that?
Yeah, I felt like coming west. My friend Avery was a friend from college, and she was out here in Portland, and I'd never been west. I'd never been to the West Coast, and it seemed like time. So I came out here, and I ended up staying. I put the band together out here. I had a decent lineup. I'd have to say my favorite lineup was the Albany lineup, the one with Buck and Brian and Kim. And
nice.
Yeah. And then I got along well with Buck Malin. And it was kind of a love-hate relationship, but we got along well. And I did a lot of good work with Buck. And
it's good to have a record of everything that you've done.
Oh yeah. And then out here I met Dan Ferguson was a bass player out here on the West Coast, and he's a real good guy. I really like Dan. And then after a lot of drummers, a guy named Paulie Weasel started playing with us, and Paulie was just so easy to work with. He was just great. I mean, you could take Paulie anywhere and never have a problem. It was just great. And Avery's here, and we've got a go-go dancer for a while, Shauna Steele. That was kind of fun. And then,
wow.
Yeah, went down to LA, and then I started going. I got an apartment down there, and I started going. I figured as I was getting older, I wanted to live in LA for a while, but I didn't want to move. So Avery stays up here with the dog. It's right over there. And the cats in the condo. And I would go down to Portland, down to LA. And that was kind of fun till the pandemic hit and I got locked in the apartment. That wasn't fun. But we got some good music out of it. So
I do know my friend Caitlin lives down there, and she's a comic book artist. And she said for her, it's really nice because there's a nice little enclave of comic book creators there. And I'm thinking that, Dark Horse Comics, I think actually Dark Horse might be in Wisconsin, whatever, my brain's fogged. But what's generally on the music scene there, what's really the big thing in terms of style down there? And what is for surf in Portland? Is it just you or are there other people?
Oh no, there were other bands up here. There was a band called the Vertones who were pretty good.
Heard of them actually. Yeah,
they were pretty good. We played some gigs with them, and then a band called Wave Sauce. Cookie, their theremin player, played on a couple of songs that I did. She on a song we did called Rock Candy, which it did pretty well. And she played on another one that I called, this is one of my weird titles, Steve Dallas, for the Bloom County character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so He was the one that was the lawyer who managed the heavy metal band that Bill the Cat was with. Now we're going off on that.
I love Boone County. I used to have an Opus shirt.
Opus was the tuba player in the Bloom County heavy metal band.
Hey, Susan, it's Charles Chaz again. Two other guys I know, if I may name drop, that I know that you've played with. Judd Williams.
Yeah, Judd. Yeah.
Judd's cool. Judd's here in Boston. I see him every couple of years.
Yeah.
Because I don't go out a lot anymore. And Dave Anderson.
Dave, yeah. Dave did a lot. I did a lot of work with Dave. We did a lot. I did a lot at Saxon Recording, quite a bit, actually. And
yeah, he's the perfect choice for that in Rochester. So
yeah, it always turned out well. We had some good ones. We did the first one, Without a Word, and the one that Judd was on, Thunder Beach. That Thunder Beach did really well. That's one that I would say is certainly there in the Susan and the SurfTone canon. Thunder Beach was probably one of my favorites.
What was your first out? What was the first record that you did that was like the first album?
Without a Word. That was the first one. Mm-hmm. I put it out as
great title.
Yep, it was. I put that out. It was a cassette release. Well, that was way back when, and I think it was 95, 96. And then the German label GD Music picked it up, and they put the CD out.
So you and Del have known each other for what? God, like 2 decades or something, or?
Oh yeah, since back to that. Yeah,
right.
Before that, yeah.
I don't know how I found out about Susan, either through Dave Anderson or somebody. I'm not sure.
I think we met through Dave.
We worked together for about a year and a half, something like that.
Yep, that's right.
Well, it sounds also too like that's like the key. You just go with the flow wherever your muse takes you. Because I'm a big Bowie fan, but I've been telling people lately, just because I got a new copy of The Man Who Fell to Earth, so I've been talking about Bowie a lot, that I thought after Let's Dance he sort of stumbled, because then he tried to be popular and tried to make stuff commercial instead of just going. Then he got back to it with Tin Machine, I think, in his later stuff. But I think when you just try to like appease the masses or just think, okay, I want to do this as the hit, it won't be the hit.
It's kind of true. If it's too calculated.
Well, except songs you don't like, they turn out to be the most popular. So maybe you should just go, I really don't like this one. This could be a hit.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to just, I mean, I like to do things that I think people are going to like. But then you have to be willing to take the chance on something. Like with the singing, I didn't know if people would accept me as a singer. I don't accept myself as a singer. So it was like, why would they do it? But people were on me, when you're an instrumentalist, you always hear, why don't you sing? And, you can tell them, well, because I'm not very good, but they usually don't believe you. And then, so I figured I could do a few songs. I could probably pull this off a little bit, just basically to just say, okay, there, I sung. But people did like it. I don't know. Maybe it's the tone deaf crowd. I don't know, but
maybe the story is Jimmy Page actually can sing. He's got a good voice, but he chooses not to.
Yeah. Well,
you can just say that too. You say, I'm a soprano, but I choose not to.
Yeah, I was always glad I really wasn't a singer, because I knew when I was a kid that if I had a good girl voice, my singing voice is low, and that I probably would have been forced into singing, and I wouldn't have gotten the guitar lessons that I got. Because my focus was all on guitar playing, which was really unusual for a girl back in '64. Not many wanted to be George Harrison, but I did.
It's funny.
Well, that was famous about. I mean, wasn't that famous about Jimi Hendrix? He didn't like. He
hated his voice.
He hated his voice and was self-conscious about singing, and it just
I don't know. My view on this, and I can't sing at all, is, and maybe Pat could speak a little bit about this because he has sung in a couple things for his theater work, is that I think it's about more for rock and roll. We're not expecting like a opera diva or somebody. As long as you've got the feel for it, and it's okay, it's not just like horrible. Because think about like I know people like, I love Tom Waits or Dylan, some of those vocalists, Nick Cave. I've told friends, sometimes they'll be turned away. They might like the music, but if you don't get the vocal, you're not going to get it. But they're not expected to be. Like, could you imagine like Dylan coming out on American Idol?
No.
Oh man, geez, like, all right.
But he has been doing standards though. That like the triple.
Yeah, I like them. What were you going to say, Chiz?
So no, really, I mean, like Neil Young, but Bob Dylan and Elvis Costello, not they give me a freaking headache. I mean, well, they're the best songwriters ever, but their vocals are like just don't know. But I mean, they're top of their game.
Well, I would pick my mom up
So.
from bowling and be playing Tom Waits, and she would be, "What the heck is this?"
It's great. A lot of these musicians that don't use charts are probably like Tom Waits. They just get it right from their own soul. They don't have to use charts or arrangements. They just do what they want to do.
And I've heard
guess,
we just had like a friend on. She does Girls Rock Rochester, which is a great charity, and her view on this. And I think more it comes from within, but she'll say anybody can sing, anybody can write songs, and I don't know about that, but I'd like to think so.
Well, John Hinckley is playing in New York City right now, so
how much you do it?
But Susan, what are some of your most recent releases, and what can we look for in the future?
The recent one, it's old Hawaii 5-0, and Those Magic Changes came out as 2 singles back in March. I think I released them on March 11th. So those are the 2 most recent. And then
What's the record label?
Me, Acme Brothers. All my stuff that I released in the States are all my own.
Oh, okay.
Acme Brothers. And then the older stuff, the German label GD did 3 CDs, and Omo Music did 1 CD and then a bunch of compilations. So, I think you can still get all that stuff. I don't know, but the States is all Acme Brothers. And the 2
is that
CDs.
through Amazon or do you have a website for that?
Amazon, Spotify, Pandora, all the usual suspects.
Oh, okay.
Then probably in the fall, I'll release one of the CDs. It's going to be called Whisper of the Devil. That's the title of one of the originals that I wrote that's on it that I really like. And that's a combination of originals and more covers, some unusual covers and some standard covers, surf covers. So it's got a bunch. Then there's one after that too. I'm not really sure what the title will be on that one. And then we'll see where we go. I'm getting old though, guys. I don't know.
But I think even your will, just tell people what they should do.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know.
But
I do have those 2. So.
I think also these days it's amazing if you're a music person, because one thing I always say I miss a little bit is the joy of the hunt. Like you go to the music store, you go look through stuff, you'd find this, wow, look at the album cover. Sometimes you get burned because it would be a really bad record with the album cover. But you find this stuff. And how did you learn? This is your social networking then. One friend might find it, or you would make a mixtape out of stuff you heard on a cassette, and then you pass it on. But now these days, there's just so much out there, and there's a positive and negative. I think you can find, like we have Mike's show, obviously, and there's other shows on around here for us indie type people. But sometimes there's just so much you have to wade through.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is. Yeah, it's a good side and the bad side of that. Because when I started back in the 80s, I mean, you couldn't get through the labels. Even the big indies, they had their A&R people, and the A&R people were gatekeepers. And one band did Black Tights. The singer was really good in that band. And we came close to major label deals in the 80s a couple of times and in New York. And then, an A&R guy would leave, the one that was supporting you would leave the label, and then you were starting again from square one. And that was tough. And then now the way it's done, everybody can put out anything. And yeah, there's a lot to wade through.
Yeah, I think we have these little, I don't know, Dell or Chaz or anybody, it's a good word for it. We have these little music communities for us sort of alternative music people where we have our shows. And, the other part of like Rochester would be cover bands or all this other things they go to see, or the major acts. But we have our own little communities. We pass around the knowledge and go support everybody. And I'm sure everybody probably has them. That's how, we think this is awesome. I love surf music and all that stuff all these guys do.
Oh yeah, that's what Mike's show is great for that, because you get, you hear the stuff you want to hear. And Bill Kelly's show, if you've ever listened to it on Sirius.
He puts you on there too because you have a Rochester connection. You used to be in Rochester for a while.
Oh yeah. The band started. SurfTone started in Rochester. It'll always be a Rochester band in that regard. It started there, and then that's where sprung from. So yeah, Rochester looms large, and you know.
Well, we have like a lake, like a canal. You know, we have like the water right out there. We can write surf music about.
Yeah. Yeah, but
we don't have the weather. I guess some people will imagine surf music is, summer, sand, beach. We get that 2 days a year.
Yeah, but it proves that it's everywhere. Well, Rochester's always been a great garage town.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
Oh yeah, it's been.
Just change on down.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, so surf and garage go sort of hand in hand.
Which is cool and everything. But Susan, it's been a real play. Paul, are you there? I think Paul.
I am here.
Anything? Have you just been listening in? Anything you'd like to say to Susan, or just you're listening in, pondering?
Just been listening in, and it's great to hear all your stories. It's been a great show.
Thanks, Paul. I'm glad you enjoyed. Good to talk to you.
He's great. Like if you're the host and you're an egomaniac, you don't want to be one up by your co-host. He's perfect.
Lurker. It's hard when you're not in the studio because it's hard to pick up on a cue when I can get a word in. So.
Yeah, we have. It's like
it's a Zoom challenge.
We both have like the Zooms, obviously, because I wasn't going to be like rude and say, "Could you just fly over here?" I know it's no big deal. We have the Zoom, but we do our studio shows here, and it's that's when Paul comes down. Sort of in a way you can, you see each other and everything. So, but they both go well. And everything.
Can I throw in one last question?
Sure.
If you weren't playing instrumental music or not working for the FBI or being a lawyer, what would be like your other, like a chef, or what would you do?
What would I do? I don't know. I always, my dad played baseball. He played minor league for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He was a pitcher.
Oh,
so
nice.
So I always had a bend towards sports. And because of dear old dad, I was pretty good at some things. I probably would have liked to have been a tennis player, actually. I was pretty good at tennis. I would have enjoyed it. Yeah.
I just got an idea if you want to use it, Susan, in terms of like a future album. You could do talk about being a chef. You could do surf recipes where they try to figure out by the guitar tones what you're using as ingredients.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun.
See, I can't create, but I can come up with ideas.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, guess what this guitar is? Yeah.
It's a big thing right now. Is like food. Everything's like cooking shows and people eating food or making food up. It's just incredible how much that's been, coming out like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this food trend stops because food sucks. I want it to go back to like rocks and pebbles or something.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with you.
Well, there's that one jazz artist. I guess he makes like gumbo on stage while he's playing, then serves it to the audience afterwards.
I heard of that guy. Probably good food.
Yeah.
But Susan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was fun.
And
it would be, and it was. So.
You can talk about just a little. We've talked about it before. Hawaii 5-0, and I admit I've watched maybe 2 episodes of the new one. So the old Bookham Dano and Jack Lord. I think Dal, you would know this. Wasn't he the first choice to be Captain Kirk?
He might have been. He was about the same age as like him and Batman and what's his name, Adam West. And there was probably like 4 or 5 different guys.
I heard Lloyd Bridges too.
He would have fit the part. Yeah, he would have fit. Yep.
But
Hawaii 5-0. Hawaii 5-0. Well, yeah, it's a great song, and like I said, I waited for I didn't do it with God, and then I got the right drummer for it. I knew that Nick could do it, and Nick had a great time doing it.
It's gotta be a fun song to play, though, man. It's like a joy to play that song. Just the way it moves around.
Seriously, it's like Hal Blaine.
It's a little tricky in places. You got to hit the part where it goes da 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 da. You got to hit that dent just right. If you don't hit the dent,
good timing. Good timing.
You got.
You basically need Hal Blaine to do it with you, and where is he? So. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
I think that is. I mean, that's one of the big views on this show. The 2 things are go see what you like, but go see what you don't like because you may enjoy it. But music is just subjective. So I don't know what. everybody's got their favorite surf song. That's got to be in the top 5, though. I would say.
Yeah. I actually, it's a good song. There's a lot to it. When you get into it, you hear a lot of different things. Like I heard a little bit of Western in it when I was playing it. Sounded like a little bit of a spaghetti Western to me.
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
It's one song I can never get sick of either. I can hear it all the time and still love it.
Well, it's short. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but not only that, I think you could play it for a half hour and keep changing it around. I would still like it.
Yeah, I changed the bass line in half of it. Half of it's got like a pedal type of on the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I changed it up on the
So
second.
what we want from you is a 15-minute disco remix of Kawaii.
Don't say it. I might do it.
I would love it.
Well, Chaz is gonna buy. He's gonna get like get one of those picture discs and everything with like palm trees, and Chaz will buy it.
Don't give me
Exactly.
an idea, man. I do. I just might do it.
That'd be kind of cool, though. Disco surf.
Disco surf, yeah. I
Very
always
cool.
laugh. I always laugh because in the Grammys they took the polka category away a long time ago. I
Oh,
always say if they had kept it, I'd because my last name is Yasinski. I'm half Polish, and I always say if they kept the polka category, I would have done surf polka and I would have won. So you never know. Maybe I'll
Lawrence
do surf
Welk
polka.
had to sweep that, though.
Yeah, maybe I'll
It's
do
never
surf
too-
polka. I don't know.
I'm a Dr. Kilbasa fan, though, too. I like him a lot.
Yeah,
But what were you going to say, Paul?
I said it's never too late.
never.
Surf polka.
They might bring it back.
There we go. But thanks a lot. Thanks all you guys for joining me.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Dan, thanks a lot, and that's it.
Okay.
We are the Architects of Entropy, a collaborative world-building tabletop role-playing actual play podcast. In other words, my friends and I create exciting, weird worlds and then we play in them. Join us for our introductory story as we play Dungeons and Dragons in a homebrew high fantasy world populated with dwarves, elves, fairies, and anthropomorphic weasels. What's going to happen next? We have no idea. Join us and find out. Architects of Entropy, a podcast.